So you're ready to buy a home, but maybe you're not quite sure where to get started or all the steps throughout the home buying process. No worries. This quick informative video will take you through all the steps to get you knowledgeable and up to speed on the home buying process. Now, step number one, really the first thing that you need to do is to get pre-qualified. Now, depending on how you're purchasing, that'll vary. Now, if you're a cash buyer, your pre-qualification is basically going to be to provide some sort of documentation to the seller that you have the funds available. Now, that could be a bank statement to show that you have those funds in your checking account, or some other sort of documentation to show that you have those funds available to move forward with that purchase. When you're financing with a mortgage, it's a pre-qualification letter. It basically shows that you have a lender that has gone through the process to ensure that you will be able to get approved for the loan in order to purchase the home. So what do you need to get pre-qualified if you're financing with a mortgage? Well, just a few simple things. An income, proof of that income, like check stubs, that could be bank statements. They may ask you for your tax returns, W-2s, things like that. And you're also going to need pretty much a decent credit score. Now you can get pre-qualified in the low 600s, but 640 is kind of that sweet spot when you start to become eligible for more funding programs that are out there for you. Step two, preparing for your closing costs. Now, there are several things that you will need money for throughout the home buying process. To better illustrate this, I'm just going to use an example home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,000 square feet, $300,000 with an HOA. Now, your earnest deposit is the very first thing that you basically have to have funds for. And it's like a good faith deposit. It's generally 1%, so $3,000. The earnest deposit is essentially given to the seller to show the seller that you are serious about purchasing the home. It's like saying, here's $3,000 now, and you'll get the rest at closing. Item number two, your down payment. When you're financing your home through a mortgage, you generally have to put down 3.5% to 5%. So in this example, you're looking at about $10,500 to $15,000 as your down payment. Now, depending on your situation, you may qualify for 0 down payment. Now, this may be you if you are a first-time home buyer or are approved for special financing like our military veterans. Now, the next thing you're going to need funds available for is your home inspection. Now, the home inspection is not required, but it is highly recommended. If you're going to spend $300,000 on a home, it's a good idea to spend a few $100 for an inspector to ensure that it's in the condition that you expect it to be in. And if it's not, you can cancel the contract and get your deposit back. Or you can allow the seller to make repairs or improvements to get the home to the condition that you will feel comfortable with moving forward and making that purchase. Number 4, your home warranty. Now, this too is not required but highly recommended. Your home warranty will cover things after closing, like if the AC goes out, electrical issues like the pool pump, things like that. It's essentially a warranty for your home, and this is renewed on an annual basis. So making sure you have the funds to at least have it available for the first year that you are a homeowner. The fifth thing that you're going to need funds available for is for an appraisal. This is where a qualified person is sent out to the home to determine the value. This is basically to ensure that you're not overpaying for the home. And this step is required if you're financing through a mortgage. And the sixth thing that you're going to need funds available for is what they generally call your closing costs. These are going to be the things like your funding fees and title company fees to wrap everything up. And this generally is about 2% or $4,000 depending on the type of home that you're purchasing. Now, depending on your situation, our team may be able to negotiate to have the seller pay all of these costs except for your down payment and your earnest deposit, of course. After you're pre-qualified and you've prepared for your cost to close, now you're ready to start looking for a home. So this is where you go out and you actually start shopping for a property. Now, when you find the perfect property for you, we get into the next step, and that's our offer strategy. Offer strategy. Now, when submitting your offer, it's not just the price that you're negotiating. You have, yes, 1, the price, 2, earnest deposit, 3, the close date when you plan to close on the home, 4 items in the home. Is there a pool table or a washer and dryer? Maybe the refrigerator you want to make sure stays in the home once you take possession of the home. And also miscellaneous things like the HOA. You know, there's going to be fees that are associated with transferring ownership. Do you want to pay for those HOA transfer fees, or do we want to negotiate the seller to pay for those fees? And lastly, seller concessions. Now, seller concessions are where we ask the seller to pay for your closing costs. We can ask for a certain dollar amount or percentage of the purchase price of the home to cover your closing costs. Now, once you've submitted your offer, the seller is gonna have some time to make a decision, and you get to decide, do they get 1 day to think it over, 2 days to think it over? Now, when the seller responds back to you, it can be a few different ways. They can accept your offer, they can counter your offer, they can decline your offer, or if they received multiple offers, they could do a multiple counter. And that's essentially where they go back and they say, hey, we got multiple offers on this home. Please resubmit an offer, your highest and best, for the sellers to, re-evaluate and go through those offers. Once your offer has been accepted and both the buyer and seller have agreed to the terms to purchase the home, we are now under contract. Congratulations, this is the first big step throughout this process. Once you're under contract, this is when the earnest deposit is actually paid. Also, within the first 10 days starts your home inspection period. And that's where you can have a home inspector, roofer, plumber, electrician, pool guy, whoever, go out to the home and inspect it and ensure it's in the condition that you expect it to be in once it's yours. Now, you only have 10 days to respond back to the seller from the findings of your home inspection. So again, if you like the home and it's perfect as is, once the home inspector has gone out, you can accept the home and move forward with purchasing it, or you can cancel if the home maybe isn't in as good condition as you thought, or if there's something else wrong with the home and you want to, continue the buying process on a different property. You can back out within the inspection period and get your earnest deposit back. Now, maybe the home does need a little bit of work, but you still love it. You can also give the seller an opportunity to repair or replace any disapproved items in the home. If the roof needs, some work, or maybe if the AC isn't blowing as cold as it should, according to the home inspector. We can ask the seller to make those repairs so that when the home is yours, it's in the condition that you expect it to be in. Next big step is the appraisal. Now, this generally happens a few weeks before closing. An appraiser will go out to the home and ensure that the home is worth what you're paying for the home. Now, one of a few things could happen here. The home could appraise for more than what you're purchasing the home for. Best case scenario, that means you've got some equity in there because you're buying it for less than what it's worth. Option 2, the appraisal could come in low. Now, if that happens, then you kind of go back to the negotiation board. Usually the seller, depending on how far off we are, will be willing to reduce the price to match that, or maybe you guys can meet somewhere in the middle. If you can't come to terms on the appraisal and the purchase price, then you can actually cancel the contract, and this is another point where you would be able to get your earnest deposit back. Now, the last big step is the escrow and recording process. This is essentially where right before close, everyone has an appointment where they sit down with the title company, sign all the paperwork, cross all the T's and dot all the I's so that all the paperwork is in place at time of closing. And essentially, when the property closes, let's say your close date is the 1st of the month, on the 1st, that's when you get your keys and everything is now yours.